I think this was my cue. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for making it to our session, given the chaos and a little bit of uncertainty. And also, this room is very hidden, so well done for making it. We're here today to discuss the Common Good Cyber Initiative, and in particular, the Common Good Cyber Fund. So it's my great pleasure to see so many people here. I will be very brief because we have a very packed agenda and much more interesting people than me to listen. But so as a way of introduction, I'm Kaylee Giroux. I'm the director of the Common Good Initiative. I sit with the Global Cyber Alliance, but for the past 2 years, I really have been coordinating a coalition of nonprofits behind the Common Good Cyber Initiative. What is Common Good Cyber? So it all started, and I'm so happy to see here the Ambassador of Canada, because it all started at the Embassy of Canada in DC in July 2023. So it always is a great pleasure to have Canada represented in our meetings. And it all started because we were seeing, as a group of cybersecurity nonprofits, the difficulties to maintain our initiatives, in particular those that are securing the most vulnerable on the internet, like civil society organizations. And so we needed more coordination among ourselves, but we also needed more coordination among the donors. And we launched Common Good Cyber in February 2024, and then had subsequent meetings, one in particular at The Hague at the Peace Palace last year in September, and then another one this year in March in London, hosted by the UK FCDO. And the efforts has revolved around really a couple of core missions. One was research. What is out there? What is securing civil society organizations? What is doing the cybersecurity job in the public interest? And so we did a research already that was published in July and commissioned by the European Commission, which published some elements of 162 initiatives led by nonprofits. And then we wanted to build these nonprofits' capabilities, so we're coordinating among ourselves, making sure that we know each other, making sure we're not duplicating, and also building our capacity to jointly fundraise, so get together to get better funding. And then finally, the last part, and that's why we're here, is how then donors can coordinate to give us more sustainable funding. And we were happy to then partner with the Internet Society to launch the Common Good Cyber Fund in June. And in June, it received the support of the UK and Canada, and then subsequently a mention in the G7 RRM leaders statement. And then Australia joined up in July. And now we're here, so a great pleasure to be able to discuss the next steps here with you. But without further ado, I will now give the floor to Ambassador Stéphane Dion, who's Canada's ambassador to France and the Prime Minister's special envoy to the EU and Europe. Ambassador, please.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Giroux.
Thank you very much, Mr. Giroux.
With President Macron, President de la République. As a diplomat, I'm not impressed by myself. But thank you very much. I want to be here. Thanks to the Internet Society, the Global Cyber Alliance, and the Paris Peace Forum, we are here at the Palais de Chaillot with distinguished panelists and participants dedicated to the Digital Commons for the launch of the joint Canada-UK Common Good Cyber Fund, an initiative indeed of Canada's G7 presidency. This Common Good Cyber Fund is a global mechanism dedicated to financing non-profit organizations that provide essential cybersecurity services to high-risk civil society actors such as journalists, NGOs, human rights defenders, and so on. Despite their critical role in safeguarding democratic resilience, these individuals and organizations remain severely underfunded. Administered by the Internet Society, with strategic oversight of the Global Cyber Alliance, the fund was launched by Canada, the United Kingdom, and was endorsed by leaders at the G7 summit in Kananaskis. Since June, others have joined, including Australia, and I understand also the Netherlands. And thank you very much. That's a promising beginning. Canada is pleased to see the fund come to fruition and to deliver it through the G7 Rapid Response Mechanism. Rapid Response Mechanism is a Canada-led initiative aimed at countering foreign interference and coordinating against foreign threats. The G7 is addressing transnational repression in all its forms, including its digital dimension. This is why, last June, at the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, G7 leaders issued a landmark statement on transnational repression. The statement set out a shared understanding of what constitutes transnational repression and affirmed the G7 collective commitment to act against transnational repression. The statement also endorsed the Common Good Cyber Fund and announced a suite of reinforcing initiatives such as the G7 RRM Academy, RRM, Rapid Response Mechanism Academy, aimed at detecting transnational repression online. This academy was launched on Monday in Toronto. The academy will help G7 analysts and like-minded democracies to better detect incidents of digital transnational repression and work alongside the Common Good Cyber Fund to counter it and support victims. These initiatives signal that the G7 stands united in confronting digital transnational repression perpetuated by autocratic regimes, and that intimidation will not be countenanced. Indeed, we are witnessing the weaponization of our digital interconnectedness. Transnational repression is the practice of governments extending their coercive reach beyond their borders to intimidate, silence, or harm individuals abroad. This threat has become an increasingly pervasive tactic. What once required physical proximity now requires only a digital footprint. According to a 2025 Freedom House report, while a quarter of the world's governments are using tactics of transnational repression, 10 are responsible for nearly 80% of all physical and direct incidents tracked by Freedom House between 2014 and 2024. China and Russia being, of course, the most sizable perpetrators. Technology has transformed both the reach and the sophistication of these tactics. States and their proxies have developed an evolving set of tools and procedures with multiple iterations of a digital playbook for repression. Foreign malicious actors employ surveillance, spyware, hacked and leaked data, and geolocation tracking to identify and monitor exile dissidents and diaspora communities. Deepfake technologies and AI-generated synthetic media are used to spread disinformation and to discredit journalists and activists. Coordinated online harassment campaigns, often amplified by automated bots or troll networks, are designed to intimidate, isolate, and silence. We have also seen the exploitation of commercial digital platforms, from social media and messaging apps to cloud infrastructure, to collect data, infiltrate private networks, spread coercive narratives, and disseminate personal information. AI-driven influence operations are deployed to target specific diaspora communities with tailored manipulated information. While the technology is complex, the objective remains chillingly simple: to extend autocratic control across borders and to track, threaten, and discredit dissidents, journalists, human rights defenders, and diaspora communities. We have seen this in numerous prominent cases, from the targeting of exiled journalists and dissidents through Pegasus spyware, to the online harassment of diaspora activists critical of Iran's and China's regimes, to the chilling intimidation campaign against Hong Kong pro-democracy advocates abroad. These activities are often subtle, sophisticated, and insidious, targeting not only individuals, but the very foundations of healthy societies: freedom of expression, civic participation, and trust in government institutions. When states export their repressive mechanism through digital means, many of our fellow citizens are targeted, our sovereignty is diminished, our social cohesion is weakened, and our democracies are challenged. This is why Canada has made countering transnational repression a priority under our G7 presidency. Canada is proud to support civil society organizations that protect individuals most at risk of digital transnational repression. This is why also Canada is determined to leverage the convening power of the G7 Rapid Response Mechanism to increase contributions to the Common Good Cyber Fund, including contributions from the private and philanthropic sectors, because indeed, countering digital transnational repression is not the responsibility of governments alone. It is a whole of society effort that demands ingenuity of the private sector, the empirical rigor and independence of academia, the advocacy and mobilization of civil society, and the coordination of global partners and allies. The partnerships we forge here, across countries, disciplines, and sectors, will define our success toward a digital age of safety, accountability, and dignity for all. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for those remarks who really shed light on the urgent need to continue to secure and reach civil society organization in today's geopolitical realities. And thank you as well for the call for action of the broader donor community, which we'll get to in a moment in the agenda. But first, I'll turn to Mr. Andrew Dalgleish, the Deputy Head of Mission at the British Embassy in Paris.
Thank you very much, Kaylee. There's little more, Ambassador, I can add to what you've brilliantly described already, but I should say some words on behalf of the United Kingdom and to say what a privilege it is to be here today with our friends from Canada, the Netherlands, the Internet Society, and the Global Cyber Alliance as we take this important step together. As you've just heard, we're facing a growing strategic challenge. Hostile states are using cyber operations not just to disrupt systems, but, as Ambassador Dion said, to undermine the foundations of democratic societies. And this isn't about isolated incidents. This is systemic. It's coordinated campaigns where cyber intrusions often serve as the gateway to manipulation and coercion of democratic actors and organizations. And these operations are calculated and they are persistent. Malign actors penetrate networks, exfiltrate sensitive data, stage selective leaks, manipulate narratives, and in some cases, enable actions with severe physical consequences. Their targets are clear: those who are critical of the perpetrating state or perceived as a threat to their security regime. NGOs, think tanks, independent media and civil society organizations, those working hardest to safeguard democratic resilience, remain amongst the least protected in cyberspace. And that creates a systemic vulnerability that hostile states exploit to project influence far beyond their borders. And the threat is real. Between 2021 and 23, NGOs and think tanks ranked amongst the top 3 most targeted sectors globally by nation-state actors. Though that is why, together with our partners, we have built the Common Good Cyber Fund. The CGCF will deliver enhanced protection for those at highest risk, earlier detection of malign activity, hardening its scale, and disruption of hostile infrastructure. By coordinating a global ecosystem of non-profit operators under shared governance, the fund will transform fragmented efforts into a unified defensive network, accelerating response and amplifying impact. So over the next 3 years, this means hostile actors will face greater costs and lower returns, while those at high risk gain stronger protections. We're deeply grateful to the Global Cyber Alliance and the Common Good Cyber Secretariat for building this fund. To the Internet Society, our integral fund management partner, and to the wider civil society community whose insight and support have been vital every step of the way. And we also recognise the important role of the G7 Rapid Response Mechanism, a crucial mechanism for coordinated action when malign cyber activity threatens democratic processes. But the fund isn't just about money, it's about relationships. Partnerships are central to delivering joint, multi-stakeholder action at scale. By working together, we can transform those fragmented efforts I've described into a unified defensive network. Today, therefore, is more than a launch, it's a signal that we're united, that we are ready, and that we are committed to defending the cyber domain as an integral part of democratic security. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this remark. And I think I speak for the entire ecosystem committee, as well as for the fund host, when I said that we're really grateful for the leadership of both Canada and the UK in helping us launch this, and then Australia who joined up. And I hear the call for other donors to join and expand this initiative. So I'll immediately turn to Christopher Locke, who's joining us here as the Executive Vice President of Internet Society and Managing Director of the Internet Society Foundation, who's the fund manager for this.
No, thank you, and thank you for your kind words. I have to give credit where credit is due. We are rather latecomers as the Internet Society to this. We have been involved for the last 8 months, having had relationships with Common Good Cyber and the organisations within it for some time. As we ourselves were looking to address this issue by creating a common donor fund, we were approached, and we're very happy to take on both the role of fund manager, but also to be a donor ourselves into the fund and to use our own philanthropic capital to go into this. Expanding the donor community for this is critical. I said on a panel earlier on when I was asked who should be funding this, and my answer was every philanthropic organisation. This is something which is relating to tech and is therefore of interest to those who have a history of funding technology and society organisations. But it does not matter what your area of interest as a donor, as a philanthropic organisation, as a country giving aid. The NGOs and non-profits you support will be coming under attack. So whether it is someone providing food to refugees, whether it is someone managing to try and maintain media organisations in repressive regimes, every single NGO will at some stage come under some form of attack. So this fund for us is one of those really fundamental things as a donor community we have to support. So thank you again for taking the initiative. We're very happy to support the Common Good Cyber Secretariat and the organisations within it to take this forward and carry on. But more importantly, we're very happy to start bringing other donors into the pod as well. It's always easier to push a rock up a hill when it's already got some momentum underneath it. So we're leaning into the early work and bringing more donors in place. So as has been said, we're very happy to have Holland, the Netherlands organisations and government come in as a donor as part of this. But we're seeing a very strong interest from the private sector. We're seeing strong interest that we hope to announce next year from the financial services industry. Cybersecurity is a significant cost item for a lot of the very large global financial services firms, and being able to support this is critical as well. We're seeing activity from other donors like us who support organisations in this area, and we're open to bringing all of those in. As you said, partnership is key, and within the structure of the fund that I'll talk about later on, the advisory committee is one of the valuable assets that exists for donors, as well as the ability to get the work done itself. being able to get representatives from the donor organizations and other experts around a table to discuss how we can deploy the money most effectively, particularly in a time when donor funds are scarcer than they have been before, is as value a contribution that donors bring to the table as the money itself. Being able to discuss this across the public and private sectors, across multilateral partners and private partners, so that we can come up with a systemic plan to support nonprofits is fundamental for us, and we're very glad to support it, very happy to host, but far more importantly, very happy to bring new donors in. Most importantly, we've had a significant donation from someone who, as an individual philanthropist, has supported many organizations around this table and has taken cybersecurity seriously in their individual philanthropy for some time. And so Craig Newmark, the original founder of Craigslist and a phenomenal philanthropist in his current role, has been very kind to donate $5 million to the fund to put in and to really get us underway on the fund, and is going to continue to be a very, very strong supporter of the way the fund develops and grows. So bringing donors like Craig Newmark Philanthropies in, bringing other private sector actors and other private foundations into this group will not only strengthen the pot, and as you said, Deputy Head of Mission, the money is not the only important thing there. We'll also bring more expertise to the Secretariat and the group, and that will allow us to have a very solid global foundation for the way that we take this issue forward and grow the fund. So thank you again. I'm very happy to be part of this, and very happy on behalf of Internet's Foundation to not only commit our time, but also our money and our support to the fund.
Thank you. No, but really, this is great. I mean, we were discussing just earlier that when we met a year ago at the Peace Palace, this seemed so far away, and in 1 year we really were able to accomplish a lot, and that is entirely also due to, I mean, the great work of the Ecosystem Committee, of course, but also of the partners that we were able to bring into this effort over the years. So thank you to all of you for that. And next, I wanted to continue discussing these partnerships, and your talking points really highlighted that as well. It is not only about funding; it is about connecting this ecosystem together. First, the ecosystem of the non-profits that are providing those cybersecurity services, but as well connecting those services with those who need it. So connecting, the end users with the services providers, and connecting cybersecurity communities with human rights defenders, digital rights defenders, disinformation community, quantum community. There's a lot of connecting tissues that we are aiming to do, and for that we need to broaden the partnership part. We also recognize that not every organization is able to provide financial support to the Common Good Cyber Fund. And to that, we put it forward a supporter statement that you can find on the Common Good Cyber website. And that supporter statement is essentially a call for action. It shows by signing it that you will support the mission. And by doing so, you either, it depends on your capabilities as well. You can give visibility to the ecosystem. You can create that connection between some services and the end users. You can create connections between the ecosystem and other potential donors that we might not be connected to yet. Or you can provide data or services. It really depends on your ability. So the supporter statement is very large, and we published today the first signatories to it. It's a broad range of organizations, from Microsoft to representatives of private sectors like the European Cybersecurity Organization, EXO, to cities as well. And so, therefore, I'll now turn to our next two speakers, Deputy Mayor Saskia Brunis, who are joining us from the City of The Hague, and Stéphane Dion, who's part of the Ecosystem Committee for the Common Good Cyber, who will now talk to us about the value of that more in-kind support to the Common Good Cyber Fund, and how that brings value to the ecosystem.
Saskia, will you please forgive me? I'm very sorry. I have another appointment I have to run off to, and we started late. Otherwise, I would have heard you. I do apologise, everybody, but thank you for having me here now.
I completely understand. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Saskia Bruines. I'm Deputy Mayor of the City of The Hague. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'd like to tell you just something about how the City of The Hague, the municipality, is involved in this. Last year, it's marked the 125 years since the first Hague Peace Conference took place, which led to the modern laws of war, and it also laid the foundation of The Hague as the international city of peace and justice. That was 125 years ago. And that conference then took place during the second industrial revolution, which is often called the technological revolution. And many things that we now take for granted were at that moment radically innovative, such as electricity, telephones, chemical service, science. And since then, these technologies have been used for enormous progress, but unfortunately also for war. Forward to today, we are in the middle of the digital revolution. And what does that mean for peace in our lifetime? Well, it requires cybersecurity, it requires resilience, and it requires non-profits. And non-profits, they play a crucial role in providing peace and progress in some of the most challenging environments across the globe. But also closer to home, where non-profits form the backbone of civil society and bringing and holding our communities together. And digitally as well, many non-profits form and protect the backbone of the internet, which we all rely on. And that is why, as already mentioned, in September last year, together with the Cyber Peace Institute and the Global Cyber Alliance, we hosted the Beyond 125 conference at the iconic Peace Palace in The Hague, which itself was also a result from that historic first peace conference in 1899. Leading up and during the Beyond 125 conference, international leaders of non-profits and NGOs called for action. And that is why during this conference, the Beyond 125 action plan was launched. And this plan also included the Common Good Cyber Fund as a crucial pillar. We also welcomed Ambassador Ernst Norman. He is not yet here. We will welcome him. But he was also there at the Beyond 125 conference. And he has already announced, and I'm very pleased that our national government did so, the Netherlands' support to the Common Good Cyber Fund. He now announced that recently, or he will announce it later when he comes. He is with President Macron. Huh? But it is very essential for our pursuit for international peace and justice, which we are as The Hague International City of Peace and Justice. And it is so important to do this in this digital age. From The Hague, within our means, we will continue to contribute to this important cause in various ways. We do have in our city a large amount of NGOs and non-profit organizations, national and many international. And we will keep on actively campaigning and supporting the development of capacity and capabilities to effectively respond to the emerging and digital threats affecting non-profits and the civil society in The Hague, of course, but also beyond. And we do so through our Cyber Secure The Hague program, which amongst others focuses on the cyber resilience of non-profits. But also through our wider and long-term efforts on strengthening the local cybersecurity and tech hubs that contribute to many programs that help secure high-risk actors and develop solutions that contribute to building a more inclusive and responsive and secure digital environment. So I conclude, I'm very much looking forward to continuing the very constructive collaboration we already have with many of the parties present here today and the wider Common Good Cyber movement. And I would like to personally compliment the initiators and the first donors on this major achievement. And it is so important that there are many donors because NGOs at this time this period in time. They have a very difficult. So we have to support them as from the public part, as countries, as cities, but also from the private part. And I think it's a very good initiative, and I really hope that it will come forward and grow very fast, so that we can help all these very important organizations in continuing, together with Stéphane, who's now telling something about his work on this, I suppose. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind word, Madam Deputy Mayor. And yeah, just to share more like what happened over the past years for this project, because this project was supposed to be a big failure. It was really planned to be a failure. It was not supposed to work. Why? Because in the beginning it was civil society organizations. So first the GFC, and he was still there, Chris at the time, the Global Cyber Alliance, the Cyber Peace Institute, the Cyber Threat Alliance, and IST, and Shadow Server, coming together saying, you know what, we are in a field where we want non-profit to be secure. We're in a field where money is just disappearing. And if we don't unite, if we don't join forces, we are never going to make it. And it may sound easy, but in the world of civil society, this was really quite unique. And we stick to that agreement month after month. It took a good 2 years to land into this meeting in DC, and then to launch the action plan in the Peace Palace last year. And last year we agreed in the Peace Palace that if we make an action plan, there needs to be results on 3 pillars. First, how are we going to get workforce that we can deploy to civil society for civil society to be protected. The second is how we're going to track and trace independently cyber attacks and disinformation against civil society. And I point you to our platform called the Cyber Peace Tracer, where we do that job. So now it's a public knowledge into what is happening to civil society. And more importantly, the creation of the fund. And that's why we're here today. But what are we talking about? We're talking about just for what we track and trace in the Cyber Peace Institute is over 1 million of reference incidents for the past 12 months. It's at minima 2,000 malware per day that we see incoming into civil society that we protect. Is a daily investigation of 10 cases that would take down investigation every day. That's what we're talking about. And we're looking at the tip of the iceberg. So just to conclude, a story that was supposed to be a failure and that honestly became a huge success now, at the root is because we could have everyone into action. So that's just a call for people in the room. I mean, you decided to join this round table, so allow me to be a bit prescriptive here, is if you're a donor, Chris is there. I mean, you know, the contact is there. Find a way to donate to this fund. It's extremely important, and you're going to multiply your effect by using this as a platform. If you're a civil society, an NGO, comes to us, we can provide to you for free cybersecurity forever. And if you're a private sector company, I'm pretty sure you have something that you can provide. Maybe a corporate social responsibility program that helps you to donate, or some cyber volunteers that can help us. I mean, any of you can for sure do something about this. So that call was the spirit of our coalition since the beginning, and I'm very happy today to sit here and to see where we landed after this, this kind of tough road. Huh? But we made it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Stéphane. And yes, it was supposed to be a failure, but my parents will tell you that I hate to prove people wrong. So it could only start that way to work now. But it's also due to everyone's great work into this. So now I think we have clarity of where we landed and how we got here. So let's move to what's coming next. So over the past, you said you were a latecomer, but over the past 8 months, you really have done a great deal of work to put things together and put the structure together with the ecosystem committee. So I'll turn back to you now, Chris, to explain how that governance is coming into place and what's coming next.
No, I mean, we're very lucky in the Internet Society Foundation to have our own philanthropy team, a team of 25 who are very adept at getting grant money out the door, supporting grantees, understanding the impact of those grants, and then developing and refining the grant strategies around that. So as well as the donation to the fund in the fund management role, we were able to use and are able to use that team to manage it. So ongoing, we will continue to use that team to be able to get the money out the door and to be able to make sure that we're able to do this in a quick and timely way so that organizations have the support and the funds that they need. As I briefly said when I spoke a second ago, what we want to do is have a collective strategy amongst all the donors and the partners that works. Now, if anyone has ever run a co-fund before, and I've spent the last 15 years running co-funds, what that doesn't mean is that group of advisors and donors all individually approve where the grants go out. Otherwise, you would never get anything out of the door. So what we've created is a very strong advisory group with representation from all of the donors and partners that advises and throughout the year regularly meets to adapt and change the granting strategy that we have so that we can change to the needs that we're seeing in what is still a very active and a very fast-moving space. So that is a series of cybersecurity experts and the cybersecurity experts from the donor organizations that can meet and create with us and the Common Good Cyber Executive a strategy that allows us to make sure that the fund is continuing to meet the purpose that we set it up for, but more importantly is also reacting to what we are seeing in the ecosystem. It's great having a grant strategy, but as everyone knows, the first thing that goes out the door when you start doing work is usually the strategy. So having that group, having that collective power and knowledge in the room with us allows us to make sure we will continue to update the strategy based on the needs we see from these organizations and frankly based on the needs out there in the broader NGO world that we see coming through. So that's the first level of major kind of donor support that we're bringing in. And as we bring other donors and other partners to that, what we want to do is to be able to augment that group as well. But I have to say also we benefit massively from the executive committee of the Global Cyber Alliance. So the representatives, some of whom are around the table, who work with us as well to make sure we are hearing from the kind of organizations we want to be able to fund what their needs are and how we can support them. As I say, in a time of aid scarcity, getting good, honest, and timely feedback from potential grantees about what the need is really important for us. So we want to add more donors, we want to have more people around the table for the advisory committee, but most importantly, and we will begin this year and also have some open calls in the early part of next year, we will start to give the money out to the organizations and see the impact that we want to see in the way the money is dispersed and the way that that sector is supported. So please get involved, but also keep an eye on the regular communications we will be having about when calls for funding come out. But far more importantly, for our impact reports, where we can start to talk about how we're doing and living up to the ambition that we've just described. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. I want to pause here and see if there's any questions from people. Yes, please, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I got to write this down. I'm Chris Painter. I was one of the founders of this whole group. And like Stéphane, I thought there was no chance this would actually happen. So I'm very happy I was proved wrong. And I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm skeptical by nature. But still, it's a really good thing. I just want to emphasize, though, that the reason this was set up, we've heard certain aspects from different speakers about the scope. And the scope is really broader than simply disinformation. That's part of it. Or simply helping nonprofits at our risk. That's part of it, too. It is really these groups that provide, as we say in the statement that you can read, these underlying services that keep the internet running, that actually help everyone, not just the vulnerable organizations, but everybody to actually use the internet. And they're taken for granted. They're assuming that someone is paying for them. And what happens is, and if anyone who's in a nonprofit knows this, funding is not linear. It's not something it's not sustainable usually. A government may change their priorities and suddenly the government's funding dries up, for instance, or a private sector organization may change their priorities, or a foundation may. That's not sustainable when we're talking about critical things that keep this whole thing functioning. And this is supposed to give that more sustainable long-term effect across the board, including on the issues that I think we emphasized a little more today. So I just want to make the point that this is a broader fund meant to address a broad but a very important problem where all these piece parts are critically important as well.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think we emphasize the need to secure the at-risk actors because they're the ones that are the most vulnerable if the core infrastructure fails. But of course, it is about a broader infrastructure in the first place. Thanks for that point, Chris. Anyone has a question or? Not yet. We're not, yes, absolutely. We're still, I'm afraid that the competition with President Macron was too strong, but no problem. We can continue chatting here. Essentially, I mean, in the coming, do you want to talk a little bit about the timeline or just what's coming next?
No, absolutely. So we will get some of the first grants out in call one, as I said, by the end of this year to a lot of the organisations that have been fundamental and providing services to the NGO community. And then we will start, as I say, to feed out information early next year about when the next calls for funding are. We run open, transparent funding processes to make sure that people can see exactly what the criteria are for funding, and more importantly, so that we can help as many organisations as possible. We would also hope to make some more announcements about donors coming in, maybe by the end of the year, although we are getting dangerously close to Thanksgiving and Christmas and many other events that slow down the end of the year. But certainly in Q1 next year, we would hope to announce a few other donors that we're able to bring in. So please, do get involved, do talk to myself, other people that are involved in this, but keep an eye out for those calls for funding and keep an eye out for our impact statements.
Thank you for that. I will add to that the call to action. So you understood that it's a broad ecosystem, and there's really different ways to get involved. And Stéphane said everyone should find a way to get involved. If there's any civil society organisations around the table, I don't know if you want to raise hands just to have an idea of who's in the room. Got one. And two. Okay, we got two, so I'll speak to you two.
The others.
We will get to the others. But so essentially, I talked about research earlier, and the first report that was published. You will still find on the website a form that you can fill in to inform what you do. So if you do provide, cybersecurity services, or if you develop tools, or if you know of organizations that provide services and develop tools and maintain critical infrastructure efforts, then do please point them to there. It is important, as Chris said, that we understand the community of the civil society providing cybersecurity at operational and scale. So we are sure that then the fund responds to an actual need and is not just operating in a vacuum. So, but then excellent question on then if you're not civil society, who are the other people? Are there any governments or any other governments that we may have missed here? No, it's a private sector. All private. Oh, we had a government.
There's a government over there.
There's government. Academia. Awesome. Okay. There's a government over there. Oh. Wait. From France. France. Awesome. Foreign affairs or?
Yeah, I'm within the team of the next presidency of the
That is wonderful. Thank you for joining us. All right. There was another one then, because now I don't want to miss out on any governments. Please go ahead.
For foreign affairs from France.
From France as well. Okay. Well, thanks. But thanks for hosting us too.
No pressure, France. I'll join you. Now you've been named.
Yes. Now we know you're here.
And you're taking the G7 this year.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Hand over the baton.
And after it will be the US.
No, just because we have state rep in the room, and they happen to be French, and I'm French, so I'm going to be a bit freer than what I'm saying than usual. And May, you know that because we discussed about this several times. There's ongoing policy centric initiatives which are ongoing, which in fact are going to benefit directly or indirectly from the activities of the fund. An example. So you run the Palmal process, which is a process by which states come together with the private sector and civil society to counter the usage of spyware. So a lot of what you were saying, Ambassador, before, like the surveillance and the spyware and the transnational repression, I mean, the tool is central to this, and Palmal is about that. Activities that are going to be financed by this fund and tools that are going to be put together and data that are going to surface, for sure are going to be useful and should be useful for these processes. So it's not only about how to support the common good cyber directly, but it's also how to interface with it so that what happened there is not, redundant or duplicate with other things that would plan. So, not in your G7 planning, but maybe, food for thought.
If there's no question, I think we should close. Oh, you have a question? Oh, yes, please, come on.
There we go. Hi, my name is Rebecca McKinnon. I'm with the Wikimedia Foundation. We're the nonprofit that supports Wikipedia. I said this at the other panel that I was in with Stéphane and Christopher, but since there are other people in the room who weren't here then, I'd love to repeat, and if anybody has comments, the United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime that was just signed by a number of governments, including governments present today, has been widely opposed by civil society because it will serve as an enabling vector for wide-scale surveillance in the name of fighting crime, which in many countries, crime being defined in a manner that includes activities of many members of civil society who I think those in the room would believe are in good standing and working in the public interest. Civil society has widely opposed this convention because of the threats it poses and enables to civil society. So I'm interested if there are others in the room with views on this or who disagree with my interpretation. The suggestion I made in the session I was in previously was that governments that have signed on to that treaty that also intend to support civic space, please give extra money to this fund, at least equivalent to the funds that your government has budgeted to fight cybercrime. Thank you.
So yeah, I've been following this closely, and I think the people who wanted the crimes defined in such a way to go after civil society did not get that in the convention, but the worry is the procedural arguments in the convention and how that can be misused by people. So that means there has to be better capacity building for countries who are implementing this, not Europe, but all the countries in Africa and others who are doing this. And so capacity building, is something that I'm afraid we're not. I mean, I just saw an announcement today. Australia is doing that, which is great. So countries are signing on to this. I don't think that's going to be stopped. But if they're signing on to it, then they have to implement it smartly. But that goes to exactly the thing I think you're saying, Catherine, that having a fund that helps organize that and rationalize it so there's better capacity building to make sure those countries are implementing in a rights-respecting way is important. And right now those efforts are very spotty.
Thank you, Erodes. You made the point, so I'll close now because I think we can say that. Anyway, we committed Ambassador and Norman for him with multiple interventions. So we'll just let him know that now he has to step up exactly. But I wanted to thank everyone for speaking up today and then joining us as well. I know this is a very late session and we had no small competitors, and just want to emphasize again how this was a very collective achievement, first brought up by the civil society and then with the support from the UK and Canada and Australia and the Netherlands and the City of The Hague and the Internet Society. So it is a growing commitment, and I'm really happy to see that it resonates among other nonprofits as well, and to have here in the room the delegates from the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs who are taking over the G7. I will then now call to action as well to reflect on today's session and see how we can continue this, since we were in the agenda of this year's RRM. It would be wonderful wonderful to see how we progressed in 1 year as we meet for the next G7. And I'll reiterate the goal as well, because I don't think we've actually touched on it. We mentioned new donors, and we mentioned existing founding donors, but our broader goal, and you'll see it on the brief downstairs, is $50 million fund. So we're not there yet. So we'll keep working on getting new donors and new commitments, and hopefully one day we'll be at a roundtable and announce to you that we've made it, and then we'll have an even bigger goal probably by then. And I want to invite everyone to collaborate in your capacity. If you're a civil society, let us know what you do, let us know what you need, and also join up. We're a big coalition of non-profits now. And if you're an academia, look into the research. We're really happy to have external views on the data that we collected and on the reports that we're publishing. If you're a private sector, then look up what you can do. If it's not financial, maybe it's visibility. And as you can see from the example of the city of The Hague here, there's plenty ways to contribute, and we're really grateful for that link as well at the city level. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.